everyone. In my previous video, I talked about how I was accepted not too long ago, and I never talked about how my interview went, which I planned on doing after my interview. So basically, I had my interview in Atlanta on March the 2nd, and there were about 25 people there. It was one of the larger interview locations, and so we drove up there. It was kind of a long drive, kind of about 8 hours. We got there, and it was at this humongous building in a German cultural center. So, we went there, and I went in there, and I saw the other applicants, and then they told the parents to leave, and it was kind of a long day. I was there from, I think, 12:30 to 6, and that included group interviews, icebreaker games, individual interviews, and an informational session for the parents and for the students. So, anyway, back to the point. I went there, and we just all met each other, and they said, okay, parents, you can go, come back at 4 or something for the informational. And the first thing we did, we just got in a big circle and went around and just introduced ourselves, and there were a lot of good people there, and it's tough competition. And so, we went around the circle, and I said, well, this is some tough competition. These are some really good people. Like, they were really good people there, and I noticed they were predominantly males at my interview. I don't know if that was just a coincidence, but my dad was like, maybe they want more guys this year or something. I don't know. It worried me because I'm female. There were not that many there at this particular interview. Anyway, so after we interviewed ourselves, we started playing a lot of like icebreaker games. Like, I guess I just want to say kind of things to keep us busy until we had our individual interviews. And while we were playing these games, a bunch of different ones, they would call each person out individually for their individual interview. And there were 4 individual interviews going on at the same time. Of course, each person went into an interview room with 2 people, and they took about 30 minutes long. So we were playing our icebreaker games, and I was one of the earlier interviews. I think I went at like 1 or 1:30, and so they called me out. I had 2 really nice ladies who were my interviewers, and so of course I was nervous. I told them. I think it's good to kind of be upfront and say, hey, I'm nervous. So I went in my room, and they were really open. They were just kind of like, oh, don't be nervous. We're just, we've been through this too. They were alumni. I think most of the interviewers are going to be alumni or work for CBYX. Anyway, they asked me a lot of hypothetical questions. What would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? And a lot of, why should we choose you? Why do you want to go to Germany, etc. So it wasn't, I don't want to say it was a hard interview, but it's hard, especially when you're nervous, to think of those answers on the spot. And there were some answers I feel like I completely bombed. Like, they said at the very end, why should we choose you as a finalist? And I completely forgot to mention about how I wanted to be involved in the German culture. I think that was something that they may have really wanted to hear. And another thing I feel I messed up on was they asked me, what do you do that causes tension within your family? And me having a loud mouth, I said, well, I don't get along with my siblings sometimes. I felt that was not the right thing to say because that kind of may show that I wouldn't get along with people, which isn't the case. I think everyone disagrees with their siblings at times, and that was just an honest answer that I just thought of on the spot. Obviously, they selected me. I guess it wasn't too bad of an answer, but I felt like it was not good at all. And there was one point when we had like a group interview that we went down the row, and they said, if you could be one animal, what would you be and why? And I was the first person to go, and so I said I would be a Komodo dragon. I love them. I'm really into science, so the first thing I thought is I would be a Komodo dragon. I love them. They said, why? I said, because no one messes with the Komodo dragon. And she was like, so you don't like people messing with you? I said, no, that's not what I meant. And so we kept going down the row, and the girl beside me said, why would be a chameleon? Because they adapt to situations well. And I thought that is such a good answer. And the person after her said, I'd be a wolf because they're leaders and they're not afraid to venture out. And I said I would be a Komodo dragon. Well, I guess that answer worked for them. What I would recommend, I think what they liked about me was my honesty. because, I said I didn't get along with my siblings, blah, 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 and I guess, it's true. It may not be what they wanted to hear, but it was honest. And, Komodo dragon, I think when you say something like, I'd be this animal because they adapt to this, well, I really think that they know you're kissing butt. I really wouldn't suggest saying that unless you actually do mean it. I would say, be real. You could be one animal. I mean, no one in the interview wanted to be a lizard. Come on, they would want to be a Komodo dragon. Like, who would want to be an eagle? Anyway, not irrelevant. And while we were doing all this, there were other alumni or judges that were kind of writing down what we were saying and how we were interacting with other people. Even when we had breaks, like we would get breaks every now and then to just, do what we want, they would still be watching us and how we were talking and interacting with other people. So I think it's really important to definitely talk to other applicants and get to know them because they're going to be watching you, and you need, it's just good to be friendly too. And I think you should get their contact information too, because you're going to want to talk to them after the interview and compare answers. And, well, after my interview, I felt like I did awful. I really said, there's no way I can get accepted after how I did my interview. And I just expected a rejection, and I was so shocked when I got that phone call. And I don't know what I really did in my interview that made them really like me. I guess, like I said, being honest and being yourself. And that's what the other, alumni have told me before. They said, just be yourself, Wendy. And I was, prepared to give these answers that I felt that they wanted to hear. And when I got there, I ended up, I did really just say what came to my mind, and they liked that. So the biggest tip I say I would have for the interview is to don't give, butt-kissing answers, I would be this animal because they like to travel and go places. No, they know that's you're just saying what they want to hear. Interview, if they say, what do you do that causes tension in your family? Don't say, well, I study too much, or I clean too much, I'm too organized. They know that's not a real answer. I think it's okay to say, I don't get along with my siblings sometimes. I don't. That doesn't mean I won't get along with people in Germany. I just disagree with them sometimes. But at the end of the day, we really come together and we're a good family, or, something like that. So that was how my interview went. And I would say, even if you did really bad or you thought you did really bad, don't give up yet. That's what I did. And the people who I thought did really good, some of them didn't get accepted. And I don't know what they're looking for. I can't really tell you anything that's going to get you the scholarship, but definitely just be yourself. And if you mess up, it's not the end, because I did, and I don't know how I got accepted, but I did, and I'm excited. So I don't know really where this video was going. I was just going to talk about my interview, and I kind of ended up giving some tips. So there was my interview experience and my tips on how I think you should, go about your interview as well if you are an upcoming applicant and have one. So, oh, and also, if you have a Skype interview, that does not mean that you don't have high chances of getting selected, because I know some people who have Skype interviews and they are accepted. And also, if you're an alternate, that's not the end as well, because a lot of people end up dropping out. They may end up that they don't want to go, the credits won't transfer or something, or they get accepted into another study abroad scholarship, and they choose that. So, sorry, my computer. Anyway, those are my tips, and that's how my interview went. So I hope that you if you're applying, just don't stress out about it, do well yours, because I really ended up having a fun time at my meeting everyone. And be confident, and remember what's good about yourself, and just have fun at your interview and just chill out, okay? So that was my interview, and I think that once you apply for an interview or do an interview with CBYX, you will be prepared to do any interview, because that is not an easy interview. It's long, it's intimidating, especially if it's your first interview ever, like me. And so I think at the end I learned good interview skills. And even if you don't get accepted as a finalist, it's really great to make it that far, because they only choose 100 finalists. That's that's a big deal. So I'm going over my time, but that's my tips for you. And I hope that if you're an upcoming applicant, you do well your interview, and just don't worry about it. It will all work out. Okay.